Thank you very much. It was wonderful for me to listen to Swami Gyanalokananda Maharaj Ji. And very soon we will be joined again with Swami Shastrogyanananda Ji, Sandipan Maharaj Ji, and to all the monks, teachers and students who are gathered over here. I'm very lucky. I happened to be in Kolkata for 3 days, and it coincided with your exhibition and this function. So when Sandipan Maharaj Ji wrote to me asking me if I will be able to come here, it did not take me too much time to decide that given that I'm fortunate to be here on this day, I would love to be and see your exhibition. I've never seen this exhibition before. The flourishing of the human mind, in the end, is where the soul of the world is. That is the inspiration from which creativity, progress flourishes. So though it was a very quick visit, we were going from one room to another to see so much art, mathematics, science, and history, and even a little bit of economics. I'm partial to economics, that being my discipline, was wonderful experience for me. In a school, to see this kind of flourishing of talent was very, very satisfying. You know, I am an economist, a very mainstream economist. Most of my time passes on watching the progress of the economy, looking at some of the big challenges that we face today. There is inflation, especially food price inflation is very high, extremely high. There is unemployment, but especially youth unemployment today is very high. But not just in India. If you look across the world, it is a very, very difficult time for the whole world economy. And why just economy? There is trouble that you can see even school students sitting, watching a little bit of the news. You are aware of the problems in the world. Till a few years ago, we had a pandemic. Fortunately, that has subsided. But there are wars going on in Ukraine, in the Middle East. The pandemic, at least you can say that we don't quite know where it comes from. When it happens, we have to grapple with it. But for war and turmoil and killing, we are responsible. We are collectively responsible. It is unfortunate that we are in the midst of such a world. You are, as students, soon, for some of you, very soon, for others with a few years lag, you'll be going out into the world. This very troubled world, and you have indeed a very special responsibility. Let me just tell you that of your responsibilities, I want to stress, though I do economics, I'm concerned about the commercial world, about growth, I strongly believe that having deep inside you some kind of a moral compass, an ethical standard, a refusal to compromise on that is crucial. A lot of the trouble that we see in the world today is really caused by the fact that we are losing that moral compass. You have to go about life, you have to take on the world as it comes. We don't have a choice in this as small human beings, but we have to remember that if we can have this moral compass in place, that commitment, as actually just now it was pointed out by Swami Gyanalokananda, that what we take, we must make an effort to give back better. We take something, but we also want to give back in a big way. We have to carry that with us. One more thing I will stress. Just by being moral, just by being good, you may not be able to change the world. It's a complicated world. So with the morals and the goodness, you also need the mind and the intellect. That's the reason why a school like your school over here, Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya, is very, very special. It tries to give to students both a certain amount of core moral values, but also along with it, an intellectual capacity. And just now, walking through these exhibitions, looking at these contributions to science and mathematics, I do feel fascinated that this is being given to you. You know, as was pointed out, you people are getting education from philosophy to science. Years ago, the Enlightenment philosophers rightly pointed out that some of the worst wars in life are wars which people fight for moral reasons. I stand for my morals, you stand for your morals, and we fight. So along with the morals, you also need the intellectual capacity to realize, how do we solve the problem? The world has intricate problems. How do we solve it? How do we take this on? Let me just tell you that as students, you will get into your own careers. It's very difficult to know what is the best career for any individual. I can tell you personally, for me, I feel very, very lucky about the career that I discovered for myself, which is teaching and research. I come from a family of lawyers. It was expected that I would get into law. When I was in college, that is what I was training for. And very early, occasionally a failure in life becomes a blessing. When I was a student, I got a call for joining a lifelong career in the World Bank. I gave an interview for this World Bank job, and I failed that interview. When I failed, I felt bad about it. But in retrospect, I just feel very, very lucky that I failed that. Because by failing, otherwise my life would have been that of a bureaucrat in a World Bank. That is an important job, but not for me. Through that failure, I began spending time on research and teaching. And for me, that is the passion. I discovered what I love. And once you discover a career that you love, that you have passion for, there is nothing more satisfying in life. That is luck. I did not, there were a couple of steps which if it had gone other way, I would have ended up elsewhere. Since I'm coming from this exhibition, let me just tell you, I was fascinated by the economics section. You have paintings there of my favorite people. There is Adam Smith. You start with Adam Smith. I don't know if you know the story. So much of life is luck. The understanding of the modern economy we owe to Adam Smith and his classic book of 1776, where he started explaining the economic world. Lots of people don't know that Adam Smith, at the age of 3, was kidnapped. He vanished from his family. Some gypsies had picked him up and gone away. And I keep wondering at times that if he was not found again and brought back to his family, the world of economics would have been different. Luckily, an uncle of Adam Smith found Adam Smith after he had been kidnapped. Then through a lot of work and effort, got him back to the family. And intellectually, my discipline was blessed by that little piece of history. You all have Karl Marx over there. Karl Marx for me is also again very important. Karl Marx had a vision of the world which is almost a spiritual ambition, that we want a world where people get according to what they need and people give according to their ability. Just because someone has the ability to give more, that person cannot take everything from the world. You give according to your ability and you take according to your needs, not more, not according to your greed. But despite this wonderful aim, the architecture of how you get to this world, I think there were flaws in Karl Marx's thought. Great intellectuals have flaws in their thought, and we must recognize that, and created some societies which while pursuing this great aim, ended up as a crony capitalist society. Russia ended up as a few leaders with a few businesses capturing the full country. Despite the great aim, you ended up over there, and which is once again underlying the fact that you need to combine these great aims, these great ambitions, also with intellect, with the architecture. How do you get to that? Just saying that we want that world is not good enough. You will not end there. I have, for me, then the next break, which was again very special for me, and I feel very, very lucky. I was an academic and a teacher, spending all my time on that, and no regrets. And I just consider myself lucky because I found that. Then in 2009, once again, it was a great experience which was referred to. One day when I was a professor, I had come for my summer vacation to India, sitting in Delhi in my home. Just before I went back I would go back to America, I got a phone call. The phone call, a lady called saying that I'm calling from Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's office. The Prime Minister wants to know if you will become the chief economic advisor to his government. I really got a shock. I was not looking for that job. I did not know I was even being considered. And I really did not have an initial interest in that. So I said, this is such a big question. I cannot say yes or no on the phone. I have to minimally have a meeting with him to understand what he wants. And the lady put down the phone back in 10 minutes, saying, can you come tomorrow? And that meeting again gave me an experience of 3 years in government, which was absolutely fascinating. You're dealing with some of the biggest problems, and you have to be realistic. You're dealing with lots of good people, but you're also dealing with people who are not so good. That is the part of political life you cannot deny. You have to keep your moral compass in your head, your intellectual capacity in your head, and begin to work trying to do better. It's not always easy. People get very, very upset that there was so much corruption. Why didn't you bring an end to that corruption? To that, my response is, to solve the problem of corruption, I saw some posters here about against corruption, and that's right. Corruption is denigrating for humanity, but it cannot be cured overnight. Corruption lives with legitimate life. If you go and try to clear out corruption altogether, you can damage so much of the regular economy that you'll end up doing more harm than good. So the corruption control done with a hammer can really do damage to an economy. You have once again to bring in a lot of ideas to take this on, and you do need the moral commitment, which fortunately the few people in government I worked with had that. You have to struggle for that, make a mistake, and it's going to backfire on you. And I have to say that the demonetization was one such example, done with a good intention, backfired totally because it crushed the mainstream economy and caused huge hardships. So we have to get into these with both these things in your mind. For me, the Ramakrishna mission, the school like yours is very, very special. I believe, I'm a strong believer that we human beings, cutting across caste, religion, nationality, gender, we all come from common roots. It came out of Africa and it spread across. So when you go to a distant land, I remember spending 3 days living with a Zapotec family. These are the sort of tribals of southern Mexico. I, in my whim, went and stayed 3 days with them, a very poor family. In the beginning, I was thinking that I'm totally different from them. I'm from India, I live in America. This is a tribal society in Mexico speaking a different language, very poor. But after a few days of staying with them, when I would see the children laughing, crying, the mother, the father, the affection and warmth and occasional fight, I suddenly got a feeling that we are the same. Yes, there are superficial differences, but we have a common core. A suffering anywhere for any human being is a suffering, and we must reach out to this. That's the reason why Swami Vivekananda, to me, is very, very special. It's an inspiration for combining spirituality with this broad concern for humanity across the world. Ramakrishna Mission is a very special place for that. Your school is a very special place for that. We must keep these aims and ambitions, noble ambitions alive. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. All the best wishes. Thank you.